Let's move on, though, now to the Pittsburgh Steelers and their 7-round mock draft series. But before we get into that, Brian and I, we have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by April 27th, which is round 1 of the NFL draft. So help us reach our goal by subscribing and ringing that bell to get notified when we create new content. And Ryan, let's get into it. The Pittsburgh were one of the shocks of the NFL season for sure. I remember thinking like, hey, Mike Tomlin, you've had a great run of consecutive winning seasons. You should hang your head, or you should hang your head. Huge success, great career. Have fun rebuilding your team. We'll see you in the top 5 at the draft next year. And he told all of us to F off and made a late dash run to barely miss out on the playoffs. And I think it looks like Kenny Pickett is a hit. George Pickens is definitely a hit. Yes. Najee Harris and Pat Freiermuth are hits, and they've made some free agency moves already to improve their offensive line by signing Nate Herberg and Isaac Seumalo as well.
Yeah,
and they've made some other defensive moves that we're going to get into as well. But actually, that's a great segue. Let's just move straight into their mock draft. They're not rebuilding anymore. It seems like they are in a win now mode, and that's what this first pick does for them. We have them trading up with the Philadelphia Eagles up to number 10 to take arguably what a lot of people are saying the number one offensive tackle in the draft. Here he's a second offensive tackle, as Peter Skoronski was taken 9th by the Chicago Bears, just the pick before. But we have them trading up and getting Paris Johnson Jr., their future left tackle. And so one of the issues with the Pittsburgh Steelers this past year was their offensive line play, especially in the tackles position. They were weaker in the tackle positions, and I think addressing this right here, getting a starting tackle, NFL caliber tackle such as Paris Johnson Jr. to protect your young offense is going to be something that I think they will reap the benefits of over the next decade and a half throughout his career.
No, yeah. To me, if you need a left tackle, Paris Johnson's your guy. If you need to rebuild your offensive line, Peter Skoronski's your guy. And they don't need to rebuild their whole offensive line. They just need a left tackle. Boom, Paris Johnson. There you go.
Yeah.
A little bit more on the trade details. So we did have them giving up the 17th pick and then also their second-round pick 50, to move up. That's not as big of a deal because they have pick 33 from the Bears trade. So
absolutely.
So, yeah. So Paris Johnson, freakish length. I think he has like 36 and 3/4 inch arms or 36.5 inch arms. And just a left tackle built in a lab. I would not be surprised if he's the first left tackle taken off the board. I would not be surprised if he's taken in the top 8 or even the top 5 or 6, just because he's that freakish of a left tackle. So I think that's a really good pick for them. But speaking of that 33rd pick, let's go ahead and move on now to pick 33. And this is actually, I think, where we have the first linebacker coming off the board, and that's the linebacker Jack Campbell from Iowa. So this isn't necessarily the biggest position of need, I feel like, but at the time of this draft, a lot of the cornerbacks had been taken off the board. There really wasn't any more offensive linemen that we felt were truly worth taking at this point. And Jack Campbell was still there. He's a big linebacker, 6'5", 245, and I think he plays really well in a lot of different situations. And I think he is the middle linebacker for the Steelers come the 2023 season.
Yeah. He's just a guy, he seems like a Pittsburgh Steelers as well. I think he would go well also. They did sign Cole Holcomb in the offseason, and they did also then sign Landon
Roberts.
Landon Roberts. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce that. And so that one seemed much easier than other ones I can't pronounce. But so I think adding Jack Campbell then to this defense would he just has that Pittsburgh Steelers nastiness as well. And so TJ Watt brings so much attention already. And then if you bring in a nasty guy like that can be your middle linebacker or just be just a hard-hitting linebacker, it's going to, I think, kind of bring back that, not saying that I ever really went away, but just solidify that nasty Steeler, they will rough you up type defense, and that's just a trademark Steeler. I feel like staple to that Steelers defense. So I like the pick in a lot. Their next pick is at pick 81. And just quick disclaimer here, if some of our draft pick numbers are off, we apologize. The software that we use to do the full 7-round mock draft for every single team counted forfeited picks. And so it was the best one. We tried using PFF, but they had conditional picks that were off and everything. So we just felt going with this one. But at pick number 81, we have them going with cornerback Riley Moss out of Iowa. I like this pick. I think he can be a good developmental piece player. They did sign Patrick Peterson to a 2-year deal. So I'm not as concerned with that pick, and I'll bring up. I'm not as concerned with them making this pick now, but I'll bring it up with our next pick. Just because Patrick Peterson is at the tail end of his career, still great veteran, can bring a lot of great talent to that team. They did also lose Cam Sutton as well, I believe, to the Lions. So adding more depth, adding more youth, I think is crucial.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think the Patrick Peterson signing would really prevent them from making this. I really like Riley Moss. He had a fantastic Senior Bowl, 6'2", 195, played against some of the best receivers in the country down at the Senior Bowl, and showed it out very, very well. So I like that pick here at 81. This is an extremely deep corner class, and I think it'd be smart for the Steelers to tap into it after losing Cam Sutton. I know they did kind of replace him with Pat Peterson, but again, I think he's 31 or 32. He's definitely getting towards the end of his career. And so you kind of mentioned this already, but at pick 121, the Steelers' next pick, we had them taking DJ Turner, the cornerback from Michigan. I do still somewhat like this pick because he does project to me to be a more slot nickel corner when you're in sub packages. And I also like him as a matchup player. If you have a true speedy receiver, I do like him there. And especially now with the Browns trading for Elijah Moore, I think he is a good matchup for Elijah Moore because he has the recovery speed to keep up with them. And so I still like this pick. However, I could see that the cornerback depth chart is getting a little crowded.
Well, and I'm just thinking now at this point, and I'm thinking also offensively, they've made a lot of moves now with the offensive line up to this point in this scenario. Signed 2 offensive guards. They traded up for Paris Johnson Jr. They've addressed several spots on the defensive line as well, and now linebacker also, and cornerback. My first inkling is receiver position. I think this is a good spot, I think, to get maybe some of these 4th-round receivers. I think Kayshon Boutte fell in our draft. I think you can go and take him. Bryce Ford Wheaton, I think, would be great with add him with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson as well. And so that's I think here, I think maybe it would probably be more of a receiver pick in this scenario if this is how it pans out.
Yeah. So I still like the pick, but I could definitely see how they would be going in a different direction. So But next up is pick 236, over 100 pick gap from DJ Turner to who we have them taking here, which is PJ Mustipher, the defensive lineman from Penn State. Going with the hometown guy. They usually pick at least one Penn State or Pittsburgh player a season, and this year it's PJ Mustipher, a little versatile defensive lineman who can kind of kick inside on 3-4 setups and play edge on a 4-3 setup. This really, I think, gives them depth behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, their 2 edge rushers that they had last season. And once when TJ Watt went out, they really struggled to generate pass rush. And I think if they don't I'm trying to think of how to word this, but if they don't get depth at that position and that same thing happens, I think they'll be right back in that same position that they were in the first half of 2022, where they really couldn't generate any pass rush. Therefore, their secondary wasn't able to do their job because the quarterback was sitting back there for so long. And then when they actually started to have a lot of success, they were winning games 20-17 because that pass rush was able to cause so many fits for opposing quarterbacks. So I think getting depth there is a really good thing for them.
Yeah, very well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. I at this point in the draft, like when it's late 7th round, you're trying to find guys that they can grow in, but going with guys that you like, I think PJ Mustipher can come in. He is from Pennsylvania. I did not know that if they always like to take kids from
I don't know
schools.
if they actually do, but I just think you look at it and it's like, all right, Pat Fryermuth, Kenny Pickett. Like there's a lot of Pennsylvania people that are on that team. So
Yeah, I would say so. And so lastly, then with the last pick, at pick 243, just a couple picks later, had them addressing the running back position, getting some depth with Cameron Peoples, running back from Appalachian State. Once again, just a fun guy. I think he can come in, maybe be a little change of pace from Najee Harris. Give him a break because he's clearly obviously the number one running back and on the team, 3 down type guy. And so I think just getting another athletic guy back there, maybe can give him some reps, I think would be key.
No, yeah. I think him and Najee are pretty similar. I think Cameron Peoples might have a little more top-end speed, but again, I like the pick. It's good depth. Definitely will be a special teams contributor in year one. So, all in all, I really like this draft for the Steelers. They trade up. They get their left tackle, who I don't think they would get at 17 if they had stayed there. And then they add some really good depth on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe 121, where DJ Turner was taken, goes a little bit different. But all in all, I still like that pick and all these picks here. So
we've done. This is actually the last division that we're doing in this mock draft series. So I think they're like team 30. I think, and several of the teams that we've done that have had these few picks, like 6 or less, haven't really liked the drafts too much, only just because it's kind of hard to get a good feel with, because you can't really address every single position and you don't know the value that's there. But for them, you look down the list, I would change DJ Turner to a receiver. But other than that, I think they get really good value for all of their picks that they have. And with what they've done in free agency, they are absolutely they're absolutely competitive next year in this division. And with what we saw them and how they were playing the second half of last season, once when TJ Watt came back.
Yeah, no, I think future's looking bright for the Steelers. Hopefully Kenny Pickett can continue to develop and they'll keep being good. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap them up right there.